Hello, I'm continuing the story of Miss Hickory, and we left off in the chapter titled Barn News, where we just learned that the cow gave birth to twins. How exciting! And the cat was leading them back to the barn. Now, in November, twin heifers were able to take care of themselves. Their big eyes were as dark as Third Brook when brown oak leaves floated on the surface. Their brindle coats were still soft, but their hair had grown and thicker for winter warmth. Their slender legs were strong, but the twins, to the surprise of Cal and the entire barn as well, were alike only in appearance. In their manners and tastes, they could hardly have been recognized as sisters. Barn Heifer was home-loving, sober, and polite. She knew that she belonged in the barn and that the barnyard was her front yard, and that she should come in to supper promptly. Her bedtime found her in the soft straw of Cal's stall, and the crooning of the hens on their perches sang her to sleep. But not her sister. Ah, no. There were forest strains in Wild Heifer's blood. She felt choked by the barn walls, tied to a post in the barnyard. Wild Heifer pulled it up and was off, dragging post and rope behind her. She often missed her supper, seeming to thrive on stubble and gleanings. She was sometimes out all night. Wild Heifer was gone from the barn that day, and Mr. T. Willard Brown finally left his mouse hole and crossed the floor stealthily. He would, he decided, hide behind the open door and find out when Wild Heifer came home. When Cal, who was probably out hunting for her wandering daughter, returned, Mr. T. Willard Brown would tattle. But even he, used to the ways of the country and not easily shocked, felt his neck hairs rising and his tail becoming large as toward evening he saw Cow coming down the road. Ever since the birth of twin heifers, Cow had felt herself superior. She had felt that even giving the usual amount of milk was not necessary. Her picture, together with that of her daughters, had been in the Hillsborough News with the printed piece about them. Cal had decided that now her time had come for a life of pleasure. As Cal would have put it, she could rest on her laurels. And this, in fact, was just what Cal had been doing that day, resting among laurel bushes and stuffing herself with windfall apples where a pile of them had been dumped under the lee of Temple Mountain. But first, she had started out on her adventure that morning. Cal had stopped in the truck garden and eaten a whole winter squash. It was an acorn squash, with a hard green shell and richly yellow inside. She had eaten the acorn squash, shell and all. Then, on a morning breeze, Cal had got a whiff of the rotting apples. It had been beyond her power to resist. When she had eaten more of the apples than was wise, Cal had arisen with difficulty from her bed of laurels, staggered down to the road, and started home. Mr. T. Willard Brown's tail had reason to become large. There she's stuffed with apples. At the sight of Cal, she had lost all sense of respectability. She was not walking, but jigging her way home, doing a poor kind of tap dance from one side of the road to the other past Acre Piece by high mowing, trying at last to get through the barnyard gate. Look how full she is of apples. She felt that it had been a successful day. As she came capering along, Cal gave deep-throated moos of satisfaction. One could understand from Cal's behavior. Mr. T. Willard Brown thought how Wild Heifer had come by her wildness. He ran out to the gate to point out the gate-post between which Cal must enter. She made it, but inside the barn she collapsed, as happens often when one eats too much. Cal had a tremendous stomachache. Her moos changed from hilarity to calls for help. Mr. T. Willard Brown ran mewing for the farmer. Cal needed medicine, and as she had been dosed In the past, he knew how exciting the sight would be. Oh, she's sick from all those apples. If Cow had been able to swallow in a civilized way, like the horses and the sheep, her medicine would have gone down easily. But since Cow ordinarily lived on cuds, chewing them for a long period of time, and had a special digestive system, she swallowed differently from most animals. She had to be stood on her back legs against the side of her stall, which was an uncomfortable and undignified stance, to have a dose of medicine poured down her throat. As the farmer started toward the barn with a bottle, Mr. T. Willard Brown decided to let Miss Hickory see the performance. Although he had heard where she was living, he had not as yet called upon her. He remembered her sharp remarks just before she had moved, but he was not a man to treasure his hurt feelings, so Mr. T. Willard Brown raced up to the orchard along Mackintosh Lane and climbed the tree where Miss Hickory had her nest. Miss Hickory had gone to bed early. She liked to lie snug and warm as she watched the setting sun turn the leaves on the mountainside into a curtain of jewels. Then, in an apple-green sky, cold and cloudless, the sun would set. Miss Hickory would pull her hat down as far as she could and say a small prayer, asking that she might find her head still on when she awoke. So it was not surprising that she was terrified to see Mr. T. Willard Brown's eyes like headlights peering over the rim of her nest. "Come over with me to the barn, Miss Hickory," Mr. T. Willard Brown purred. "Cow is going to be given medicine. She has a stomach ache." "Is that all you have to say for yourself? Must you rouse me from my beauty sleep with such a poor excuse? What is it that you really want, Tippy?" "Only to give you a few moments of entertainment," he said sadly. "You'll be sorry if you do not come over, Miss Hickory. This is going to be good." He climbed down the tree, purring back through the branches. "You have probably not heard the barn news. One of Cow's twins has turned out badly. She runs away. You would best watch your step, Miss Hickory. Wild heifer is often in the orchard and might easily mistake you for a little green bush with red berries. Do you want to be eaten, Miss Hickory?" That, he felt, was a proper retort. He padded home as fast as he could, but Miss Hickory did not move. So, we'll leave it there with Mr. T. Willard Brown about to see the poor cow, who he suspects this is where the wild heifer gets her treats. She's about to get her medicine. Oh, she's not doing well. She's not feeling well at all. So we'll pick it up next time. And that was the second half of Barn News. Until next time.